buy, let's say I have a project, and in my project, I need to buy 100 iron sheets. So, and for me to buy this, I need 1,000 US dollars. So I have a project. This project requires me to buy 100 iron sheets. I need 1,000 US dollars for me to be able to buy that. And the reason as to why I want to buy the iron sheets, it's because I want to construct 2 sheds for motorists. And the reason as to why I want to construct these 2 sheds, it's because I want to improve the let's say the junction like how it looks. I want to beautify the junction. That is where now these motorists actually stay. So I want to improve that vicinity. I want to improve how that place looks. Now, the ultimate reason as to why I want to improve, it's because we want to improve the infrastructure capacity of that area. So in such a scenario, let's start with what could be my inputs. Let me hear from Cecilia. Cecilia Tembo. I need $1,000 to buy 100 iron sheets so that I could construct 2 sheds for motorbike riders or motorists. And the reason as to why I need to do that is so that I could increase their access, for example, to these sheds in case maybe it's a rainy season. But the ultimate reason is to improve infrastructural accessibility in that area. So in such a scenario, let's start with my inputs. What could be my input here? Let me hear from Cecilia Tembo. Cecilia Tembo, you haven't unmuted yet. As we wait for Cecilia Tembo to unmute, I see here Esther is saying the inputs are the iron sheets. The same Dennis also is saying the same. It's Esther. Yes, good evening, Dennis. So I'm seeing here the iron sheet are the inputs. Let me also see from yes, the blessed.
Okay, thank you. I would say that one of the input you should have is that kind of money. If you have the money, that can be one of the input. Number 2, it's the land where you are going to build that kind of shed. Apart from that, you need also human resources who will support you in that kind of construction. That's what I can say. Thank you. But also you need to collect the data and know how many needs this kind of shed. It's like it gives you need a tool to collect the data to ensure that I'm working with this kind of data. I need to improve from here, then I want to be somewhere else. So the baseline. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So the input. I'm reading our comments and okay, let me hear from Mark before I read these comments. Yes, Mark.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mukaya. In my view, 1,000 US dollar is the input. And the process of buying the iron sheets is the activities. And then the sheet, once it is now constructed, is the output. And then now, The way now these guys will be enjoying this set is the outcome. And then now their motivation after constructing that set with other things to beautify the set is the long term now. So they will protect themselves from rain. In case it rains, so they will have no issue during the rain because they will shelter there under the set. So that is how I look at it in this way. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark. That is very true. Now, from the comment here very fast, I see the one that made me smile a little is this one here that was saying that the input first is the idea of constructing. Now, I just want us to respond to that. It's a very true question and it's a very correct answer. But what do we think about it? Can we consider the idea of constructing these two sheds as an input? Let me hear from us. Let me hear from Rabson Woodwell. Rabson Woodwell, what do you think? Yes? Yes, Rabson? Okay.
Yeah.
Kindly.
Very
Yes,
much.
Rabson?
Yeah, thank you very much. Maybe let me make my comment later, just a few minutes, then I can come in and comment.
Thank you. Thank you,
Mr.
Rabson.
Can I go ahead?
Otherwise, I'm following, but I think let me comment later.
It's
Yes,
okay.
Mr.
It's okay,
Mokai, can
Rabson.
I
It's
go
okay.
ahead?
Yes, kindly go ahead.
Yes, I think the idea in this case is the whole philosophy of constructing the seat for the border riders or the motorists. So it is not the input. The idea is the beginning now of the project. And then now you think of the input, like the $1,000, the iron sheet, and the rest of the things. So it cannot be the input, but it's the foundations of coming up with that project, the philosophy behind the project. That's how I think of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. So the idea is the philosophy, is the wish of how you could have wanted to come up with the project. Now, the same way I want us to respond to that before I respond to all of them. There's also another one here. I want us to think about it. And this is is now, can we classify the idea as the impact, as the main goal? I've given us this statement from, this is what you want to do, this is what you have, which is $1,000. You want to procure 100 iron sheets to construct 2 sheds. And the reason as to you want to construct 2 sheds, it's because you want to improve accessibility of these motorists to this shed. But ultimately, the reason as to why you are doing this is for beautification, which is ultimately now the improved infrastructure within that area or that junction. From this statement, can we be right to say the idea itself can qualify to be considered a goal?
Yes.
I see here at the comment section, we have, okay, I don't know how to spell this, but we have a comment that is the idea I think can be the goal or vision. Now, the reason as to why I'm asking us this, there are things I want us to appreciate and understand first. Let's appreciate these components of a project because they are going to help us when we'll start getting at the technical tools when it comes to the M&D part of a proposal. And in these components of our projects, we start with the input, which we've already said. Inputs are the resources needed. Material resources, human resources, financial resources. And in this context, you have a series of activities, but you have the primary two resources. Probably you have the land, because 1,000 US dollars can't actually help you buy a land. So you have the land, which is one of the resources, and you have the money, which is the second resource. You'll need, yes, the people to construct. Probably you already have them because we didn't factor them in the budget. So you have the people, which is the human resource, you have the land, and you have the money. And this has qualified you to two series of activities at different levels. The first activity is the procurement. You want to buy at 100 iron sheets. So the buying of the 100 sheets is the activity. And the second activity, after you've buyed, because you have levels of results, is now you construct two sheds, meaning the construction of two sheds. The construction of sheds is the second activity. So if we were to list the number of activities we have here, there are two. One is the procurement. You already have the funds. So you going and buying is an activity, meaning you will report how many iron sheets have you bought. And then the second one is the construction. You have a target of constructing two sheds, meaning the constructing itself is an activity. Now, let's start with activity number one. Because we've started with the input, we've gone to the activity. Now I want us to go to the output. The output is the immediate result of an activity. It doesn't respond to any why. Why are you procuring these iron sheets? The output doesn't care about that. Why are you constructing these two sheds? The output doesn't care about that. But the question is this: at the end of the day, after I've done the procurement, the immediate result of that procurement is I have bought 100 iron sheets. So the number of iron sheets procured is the immediate result of the procurement itself as an activity. So if I manage to procure 50 iron sheets that day, my output will be 50 iron sheets that I've procured. If I manage to procure 100, or even I was so efficient I procured 110, my output will be the 110 iron sheets procured, the immediate result of the activity. Now let's look at the second activity, which is the construction of the sheds. At the reporting time, the activity is constructing the sheds. How many sheds will I have constructed? If at the reporting time I'll have only completed constructing one shed, it means my output will be one shed has been constructed. If I had finished constructing the two sheds as per the target, then my output will be two sheds constructed. So look at the activity, constructing. How many are you constructing? What is the result of that specific activity? That forms your output. And output is the immediate result. So here we'll have two outputs. One is 2 sheds were constructed, and another one is 100 iron sheets were procured. But then we ask ourselves, why? Because now let's look at the higher level result in terms of activity. So if I was procuring these iron sheets, I was procuring them so that I construct these 2 sheds. Now I've constructed these 2 sheds, but someone is asking me, why are you constructing these 2 sheds? You know, we don't understand why. I say, because I want to improve the accessibility of these motorists to shades more so on rainy season. I want to increase it by 50%. Probably they only have 1 shade in that area, and the motorists there are around 20 or 30, and they don't all fit within that 1 shade. So if, for example, the accessibility was at 40%, you are saying if I construct 2 more shades, I could increase it to 90%. That is by 50%. This is why I'm constructing these modern shades. So at the outcome level, so we've started with the input, we've gone to the activities, we've gone to the output, now we are at the outcome level. The outcome responds to the objective, which is why are you carrying out these activities? The objective was to increase accessibility to these shades among the motorists in this area by 50% by, let's say, December 2027 or 2026. That is the objective, which responds to the outcome. Now, also, outcome, which is the objective, addresses something we call CAP, knowledge, attitude, and practice. What do I mean? In this context, we are looking at the attitude and practice. What do I mean? You've constructed these sheds. Do the motorists have an attitude towards your shed? Because if you don't link, harmonize, and ground your activities towards relevancy to your target population, we've seen projects where they bring in a service which the target population have an attitude towards it. So at the outcome level, we assess it in terms of that. So first, if these people are appreciative, they don't have a negative attitude towards your shade, then automatically they'll practice. What do I mean by practice? They will use that shade. And if they use that shade, then you'll have increased accessibility to this shade by 50% as you had intended. But then why are you doing this? There's an ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is to improve the infrastructure level within that area. That is the ultimate level. So what is your impact? The impact addresses the goal. And the goal is you need to realize an improved infrastructure within that area. So I've told us what an input is, what an activity is, what an output is, what an outcome is, and what an impact is. In that logical flow, do we have any question in regards to understanding those 4 or 5 key components of a project? Before we look at why then do good projects don't get funding? Any question, any comment in regards to those? Yes, Claudine.
Thank you so much. I didn't get it well. I don't know if the idea is quoted as the impact. I didn't get that well. If you could bring it in again, it would be helpful. Thank you.
Now, in this context, the idea has the potential of being converted to become a project. Because the idea is to construct shades. What is your project? Your project is to construct these shades so that you improve the accessibility. So the idea has a potential to be converted to activities that could formulate that project. Yes, Edward.
Thank you so kindly. I kind of want to know how can I observe the intermediate change and the impact in the project?
Thank you. The output responds to the activity. So think of a project, any project. Let me think even of a very, very simple project, which is I want to construct, or I want to eat 10 apples. Let's start with the input. I need the apples first. That is the input. And the activity here is eating. So if someone is actually monitoring me through observation, they'll say you've eaten 1 apple, you've eaten 2 apples, you've eaten 3 apples, because eating is the activity. And what they are reporting is the output. The moment they'll say you've eaten 2 apples, you've eaten 3 apples, this 3 is the immediate result of that activity. At the time of their reporting, what is the result of this activity, which is eating? So you can monitor. You get your output by monitoring the activity. You get your output by tracking the activity. And there are several tools and methods to monitor. One of them is observation. I have an activity which is to train 10 teachers. So when you come to monitor, to observe my workshop, you'll ask how many, you'll report how many teachers are in attendance. And you'll say, right now you are training 7 teachers. You've not met your target of training 10 teachers. What have you done? You've monitored the activity. But then why am I training these teachers? Now, when it comes to answering to why, it's more of evaluation. You are now using scientific methods to assess and evaluate and see, are we realizing the objective as to why we were doing these activities? Because that responds to, are you being effective? So unlike activities which you need to monitor to get outputs, outcome you have to evaluate. And here's where we'll talk of different methods, which will include sampling, which will include survey, which will include, through those methods, you'll have tools like focus group discussion, like questionnaire, like interviews. And we'll get to look at them as we continue for those who will be doing project management and monitoring and evaluation. So once you evaluate, it answers to the question of, are you being effective? Once we construct these sheets, you see, we might construct these sheets, but they might not use them. We've had dead projects, ghost cities, where houses are constructed but nobody's relocating to them. Where hotels are built but nobody's going for those services. Where schools are constructed but no students are enrolled in those schools. These are ghost projects. And what does it mean? After the project was done, during evaluation, I've constructed these sheds. During evaluation, I'm assessing how many motorists get to use these sheds at the end of the day. Or are they still squeezing to that one shed there because my shed probably is not accessible? So evaluation is getting to see, are you effective to the problem you wanted to address? And that responds to both outcome and impact. That's why we have something called impact evaluation. Because now impact evaluation goes beyond assessing effectiveness to assess sustainability. That is, if we come here 10 years later, can we still see the effects of that project? That means, was it sustainable? We've trained these farmers on modern farming techniques. The project has been there for 2 years. if we come back after 5 years, can we still find them practicing the modern farming techniques? What are we assessing is sustainability. The project have a strategy and a mechanism to ensure continued effect even after the project life cycle has depleted. I want to believe I've responded to you on the tools to assess
Yes,
output.
thank you.
Thank you. Then with that one said, then let's delve into today's topic. Unless there's someone also who has a question. Now, I want us today, I think I'll pick that one as the last question as we continue because I'll give also opportunities. Yes, Samsung. Yes, Samsung SM. I see you have a question.
Yes, sir. That area, the question that our sister asked about, I think that area was not properly handled to the way I was expecting it. And she asked about how can an idea be called an impact? That area, you've not handled that area yet. Yes, I want you to really talk on that area, please.
Thank you. Now look at that scenario, because also an idea, it's so cloudy. Look at this scenario. I have an idea, and this idea is to construct 2 sheds, because I want these motorists actually to have somewhere when it's raining. Now, I can convert this idea to a project. It has a potential of becoming a project. The only thing that differentiates an idea to a problem statement is evidence. Because someone will ask, why do you want to construct these 2 sheds? I'll say, well, I see a lot of motorists here being rained on. But you see, that's just an observation. Now, you need to back it up with statistical data, evidence, to formulate a problem statement. As problem statement qualify you to now formulate a project. Projects are meant to address a problem by giving you a unique solution or product that could be an answer to that problem. So this idea was generated because there was a problem which was observed. And meaning, if this idea could actually be graduated to become a problem statement, then it can formulate a project. An idea cannot be called an impact. An idea cannot be called an impact. An idea has a potential of giving you a project. And that's why, let me respond to that one by just asking us this question before we continue. Because we've seen many ideas never getting funded. And when I say many ideas never getting funded, what I mean is many projects never getting funded. Because ideas can be graduated, can be qualified to become a project if now you do them within the given predetermined conditions of first defining a problem through a problem statement and then justifying it statistically with evidence. Now, we have seen I want to believe maybe we can respond to this because it will lay a good foundation to today's session. That is how many, for example, of brilliant projects have we come across or have we seen which are very well designed and which have the potential of being very impactful, even we can say life-changing. But then these projects, these ideas never got funding. Has any one of us ever come across such? And eventually they faded. Has anyone here ever come across such? Kindly, I encourage us also to participate. Is one way of confirming if we are in attendance.
Okay.
Yes. Let me hear from Stephen. Stephen Komakech. Are you with us?
Yes, I am following.
Thank you. I think this is the approach I'll be using. I think I'll be ambushing us. Have you ever heard of such?
Heard of?
Have you ever come across such?
Yeah, could you come again with the statement, please?
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Before I do that, let me also hear from Sayo. Yes, Sayo. Yes, Sayo. You've unmuted. You haven't unmuted yet. Okay. If you're using your headphones, maybe you could try and plug them, and then you plug them back in. As we wait for Sayo maybe to respond, I'd also want to hear from Tutu Baylor. Tutu Baylor, are you with us? As we await on Tutu Baylor, as we await on Tutu Baylor to respond, the reason as to why I'm asking us this question, it's because, yes, John?
Come on.
Yes? Okay.
Talking.
The reason as to why I'm asking this, it's because I wanted us to get to understand that most oftenly, donors don't actually reject your ideas because maybe they're bad. They don't reject your ideas because maybe they don't look good. They just reject your idea because it's not convincing enough. They reject your idea because it's not convincing enough. And these are the things I want us to demystify today, because these ones will respond to the question of why do good projects don't get funded? Yes, Samson. Yes, Samson, you can unmute. Samson, we can't hear you. I think you haven't unmuted. Okay, then let me continue. As I've said, you get to realize you don't get that funding because your project is bad. It's just because you didn't position yourself well. And I'm looking at it from a point of two people looking for a job. And in this context of two people looking for a job, once these two people are looking for a job, probably one candidate walks in and they are very qualified. But during the interview, they are not able to actually explain themselves, present themselves clearly. And you have this other candidate. You have this other candidate who actually is not very qualified, moderately qualified. Kindly, John Swele, kindly, if you're not raising a question or a concern, could you kindly mute? Thank you,
I don't
John.
know.
Thank you, John. Okay. Okay. You get to realize this other candidate is much more clear. They show evidence. They align with the company in the way they speak. But when you look at their papers, they are moderately qualified. And who do you think would you give the job? Is it this person who's moderately qualified, or this person who's very qualified but they're not able to present themselves? Because if it were me, chances are I'll give the one who can present themselves, irrespective of them not be highly qualified. And why am I saying why am I saying that? It's because the same analogy applies when it comes to funding. That when donors are looking for someone to fund, they don't fund just the best idea, because idea is what qualifies you. They fund a structured, a more credible idea. Swele John, good evening, Swele John. Yes, I've been trying to mute you, but you unmute, and kindly could you go ahead and mute from your side? Swele John.
Mr. John, please, you have to permit us for us to listen
I
this
don't know
this
what
area is so difficult. Please, please.
I don't really know what is happening, sir. It is coming up repeatedly. I unmute, it comes up, so I don't really know.
Okay, it's okay. Thank you, Swele. Thank you, Swele. So where was I? Okay. So we were looking at then how can we build now this credible, reliable idea in a way that it could win us funds, because these are the things that could result to actually us not getting funding. And just a minute, I connect this laptop, switching off. Okay.
Mr. Mukwaya, the other person who is making a lot of noises in the background, you mute him or you let him out. He's disturbing.
Okay, we can continue. So as I was saying, you get to look at this analogy. You get to realize it goes beyond having a great idea to now, how exactly are you well positioned to present yourself? How best is your idea structured in that proposal? And most importantly, how credible? How credible is your idea? That's why we talk of statistically backed evidence, where you don't just say that people in this community have this problem and there's no statistics to back that. And these are the things I want us to look at. And we can look at them by getting to appreciate this hard truth. And that is donors don't fund effort. And this is a truth I've seen from the different experiences I've had and discussions I've had with the different institutions, stakeholders, and even prospective donors. Donors don't care how hard you worked. Donors don't care how good this project can be. The only three things that donors care about is clarity, is structure, and confidence. You know, these are the things they look at. If you submit a proposal right now, for example, and in this proposal, maybe you are saying something like, we want to empower youths in village A. As much as you are so passionate about that project, chances are you might not get that funding. But if someone else submits the same proposal, and in their proposal, they're saying something like, we will reduce youth unemployment in village A by 25% in 18 months by training 500 youths maybe on maybe digital skills, and linking maybe 200, 300 youths to online jobs as a method to address that problem of youths unemployment. Who do you think could get that funding? And that's the question I'm talking about. Donors tend to look for certainty, not passion. You might be passionate about your project, but if you're not portraying certainty, if you're not portraying confidence, if you're not portraying structure, you get to look at that statement I'm saying. It brings about the structure of, yes, there's this problem, but this is the structure. This is the way you are going to address that problem. You have a target of 500 youths whom you want to empower with digital skills. Why? Because probably there's a lot of digital jobs right now. And apart from empowering them, you've also taken another initiative of giving them a secondary service, which is to link them to jobs. And you're going to report how many have gotten jobs through your organization. And that brings about a certain form of certainty. It brings about a certain form of confidence, because within that structure, there's clarity. There's clarity in the problem identification and clarity on how you're going to address that problem. And this is the hard truth that we have to face. That is, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how passionate you are. It doesn't matter how visionary you are. If you can't find a way, to showcase this clarity, to build this confidence, then chances are you are predisposing yourself to losing that funding. And that's why we say that ideas plus passion doesn't always equate to funding. And this is the one thing we have to accept, because I've interacted with many organizations, CBOs and foundations, and I've realized most of these organizations, most of these NGOs, CBOs, they tend to actually operate on passion. Even government programs, they operate on passion. But then you ask them, this is not an emotional endeavor. This is a strategic endeavor. Do you have a structure? Do you have a plan? Because if you say you want to help these people because they are dying, do you have a plan? How can I actually give you $1 million to to go and help them if you don't know how you're going to help them. So don't just have that fertile idea, but then you don't have strategy. It's like having a land which is so fertile, so huge, but then you don't have the seeds, you don't have the water, you don't have even the tools, the equipments to plow that land. And then at the end of the day, you are saying you want to harvest. How can you harvest? And these are the things I'm saying. So as we start this session, even as we head towards concluding it, the one thing I want us to appreciate is, yes, it's good to have ideas, but let's move on. Let's move away from having good ideas to having fundable solutions, which is backed with evidence. And that in itself responds to why we don't get fundings, why projects don't get fundings. And get to look at what I've said, for example. Get to look at what I've said, for example. When we talk of unclear problem, like your problem is not clearly stated out. Your solution is irrelevant to that problem. Saying that poverty is high in this community, the question is, can that qualify to be a problem? Can that be considered a problem statement? Saying that children are suffering and our project is meant to elevate suffering, can that qualify to be a statement problem? What if you break that statement, like, for example, of poverty are high, and you say something like 57% of households in village B, they lack sustainable income sources, leading maybe to poor livelihoods or leading to food insecurity. You see, this statement is much more different than the one which is saying poverty are high. When we talk of structure, why proposals fail? It's because in your proposal you lack structure. And if you have it, it's a weak structure. And you get to look at most proposals that people write. They often qualify to be categorized as stories, where you are not presenting systems, but you're just laying down stories. And that's why we're saying a proposal without a structure automatically predisposes you to failing. It's like building a house without a foundation, and you're expecting that house to hold. It doesn't make any sense. That's why we look at the components of a proposal as I've mentioned them. As I've started mentioning some, I've said we'll have the M&D component of a proposal. We'll have the project, the problem statement of a proposal. We'll have the budget. These are the things that build a strong structure of a proposal within that project. And then you might have a good structure. But then if you don't have a system, instruments to measure the progress of your project, then donors cannot trust you. When you say we will improve education, for example, I'm looking at an educational project where students are not transitioning, students are performing poorly, but you are writing a proposal, you are saying, we have an issue to do with education in this area, and our project will improve education. You ask yourself, can that convince the donor? Can that build the trust to this donor that you know what you want? Chances are no, it can't. And that's why we say, what if you find a way? What if you find a way, instead of saying, we will improve education, when we look at how to develop an objective and fill in the smart acronyms, where the M in smart specificity, and the M stands for measurability. You'll know why you need to bring in numericals, figures, percentiles in your statement. Instead of saying maybe we want to improve education, what if you say something like we want to increase, students maybe performance rates or pass rates or transition rate by 45% from 20% to 65% within 2 years. You see, this in itself, it brings about the aspect of measurability, meaning you're going to look at their performance percentiles, and that brings about the indicator being the instrument of measurement. Bring about the aspect of measurability in your projects through your proposal. And also another very important thing is donors don't invest in promises. Rather, they invest in proof. And there are 3 ways to ascertain proof. Like have you done this project before? What was the result? So the one way to ascertain proof is having a working prototype. If it's a project you've done before, then you have a proof. You have a working prototype. If you've never done it before, then you've done your survey. You have a pathway that is evidence based on how you can address that problem. Or you are partnering with someone who's done it before. Get to understand that donors don't just invest on promises. You don't tell someone, even look at there's a certain program called I think Shark Tanks. Is it Shark Tank? I think, yeah, it's Shark Tank, where an individual with an idea or actually with a project, a business, they are summoned, they get to apply and come in front of millionaires, billionaires in terms of USD. And they're sharing their idea to request for funding to expand or to generate or to start a business. And you get to realize these people, they ask questions. You say you want $1,000 or $500,000 to start a business. Why should I give you this money? You've never run such a business before. You don't know how it works. What you have is just a promise. And I need to get return of my investment. Why should I give you such a money? And these are the things you get to, if you get to look at that show, I challenge us to get to look at that show. You can look at it, you can Google it even on YouTube. I think it's called Shark Tank. Even Nigeria, they have a certain project like that, a show like that. You'll get to see these people, the one thing they want is a proof, not promise. If you say, I have this business, it has been generating this revenue, and this is what I've been getting as profit at the end of every year for the past 3 years, and I look forward to expanding it, chances are these people might on board to your idea. The same analogy applies to donors. Give them a proof, not just promises. Then how can you position yourself? How can you position yourself? Because positioning is everything. And why do I say positioning is everything? There's this. I went to a certain motivational event, and there's this statement the speaker mentioned, which stayed with me to date. That is, water. Water is the same product, But if you go to a supermarket, you'll buy this water maybe for $1. If you go to an airport, you might buy this water maybe for $3. If you go to a community, a village, you might get this water for free. But if you go to a desert, then this water is priceless. Now the question is, how can you position yourself? Because the positioning is what makes the difference. And the best way to position yourself is first to get to answer to questions like why is this a problem? Why now? You know, questions like why you? Why are you the right person? Or even why should we trust you? Because you are responding to the donor. Once for the ones where they publish call for proposals, the moment a prospective grantor publishes call for proposals, they receive thousands of proposals. But why negate the 999 proposals to pick you? You have to respond to them. Why you? Why now? You know, why should they trust you? Because they might choose to leave these others because they don't trust them. Why should they trust you? And that is the positioning we are talking about. That's the positioning we are talking about. And now, as we head toward John, it's important to also get to understand the monitoring, evaluation, accountability, and learning. Now that I had preambled it yesterday. Unless, do we have any question up to there before we look at the meal part? And it's important because it's a power tool in our proposals. Any question maybe up to there?
Yes, I have a question. I'm Komaket Stephen.
Yes, Stephen, kindly go ahead.
I've been following a certain professor who is giving free training on how organization can win funding. Especially, I'm trying to relate with what you're saying, that donors don't fund ideas or passion, but rather they fund organization. So, according to what she was saying, you may have a beautiful idea, a good proposal, but that will not be enough to convince a donor. For instance, donors normally they are taken up by trust. You first need to win their trust. They should know you. For instance, if you're applying for an international grant where maybe it is not locally situated, for instance, for South Sudan, precisely, a donor that is trying to advertise for grant opportunity in US doesn't know that, for instance, my organization, which is still infant, it's called Strategy for Realization of Humanity, SRH. So when we apply, like you say, there are many people that we are going to compete with for the same grant. Maybe let's say maybe they are taking only one. So how are we going to convince a donor that doesn't even know us, that we have never even written for partnership? So I just like the way you brought it, and when she talked of structure and then the system. That those are the majorly things that make up an organization. So, for instance, the donor doesn't give money because you have beautiful projects or activities or uh, programs, but rather how structured are you? How well structured is your organization? Do you have strong, like a body of trustees who can give you technical advice? They can also make your organization to have sense of sustainability. For instance, maybe you are doing project A, and that project beside you apply for this donor opportunity, grant opportunity. What plans do you have in terms of sustaining your revenue? For instance, how many sources of revenue do you only rely on? So, and then the technical people who are going to implement the project, design and implement. So, but that's all I think about when you talk about structure. I would wish also that to come strongly. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Stephen. It's coming strongly, and it will come even strongly when we'll now start working on resource mobilization strategic plan. Resource mobilization strategic plan is when we'll explore different methods of expanding revenue generation within an organization. Because right now we are just talking of grants, but there are so many we can look at. We can look at partnership. We can look at well-wishers. We can look at crowdfunding. We can look at online funding. We can look at volunteers. We can look at events and fundraising. We can look at social media presence and online subscriptions. We can look at actually coming up with an income generating activity within an organization. And all this will get to look at them in an in-depth to look at which one works best for each organization. But what we are saying, because as you've said, it's very true, the donor is asking, yes, we can give you this 300,000 US dollars, but what happens after that? What happens after that? Basically, what they are asking is, what's your sustainability mechanisms? Others are asking, kindly give us a list in their pre-existing template of proposal writing. List the number of partners or donors you've had before. What are they trying to and contact reference? What are they trying to ask? Is, can we trust you? But they can't ask you that directly. So once you say, yes, we've worked with the World Food Program. Yes, we've worked with the UNESCO. Yes, we've worked with UNICEF. Yes, we've worked with WHO. Yes, we've worked with USID. Yes, we've worked with PEPFAR. Yes, we've worked with the Samaritan's Pass. Once you mention these organizations, they ask for a point, a contact of reference. Others, once you graduate from the shortlisting, the first phase shortlisting, they ask for your previous project reports. And within these reports, there are three things they ask. One, they ask for an audit report. They ask for an M&D report. That is the project conclusion or project closure evaluation report. And also they ask for, these are the things they ask. Why are they asking for these things? So that it could build the trust that, yes, we can trust you. You have a track record, meaning you have proof. Others, I saw there's this organization where they were asked that, what are the processes you have before you release funds? Yes, you have the finance officer. How do you go through releasing funds? Let's say field office A, they want 10,000 US dollars for activity A. How do you go about this? And the director said, we consult and then we release. So they were asked, who do you consult? And they missed that funding opportunity because of that simple question. All they were asking is the structure. How do you go about it? If the director could have said something like, the field officer need to submit a proposal or a requisition form requesting for funding for activity A. This requisition form is not submitted to the finance officer. It's probably submitted to the project officer. The project officer assesses it to ascertain the relevance of this activity, which needs the funding. If the project officer feels it's relevant through consultation within the other people within that level, like the project assistant and even the finance officer, then the project officer approves. Once the project officer approves, it doesn't go to the finance officer probably. It goes to the director. The director, once the director sees the activity resonates, the director calls the committee, the finance or the project or the organization committee, because there are certain funds, there's a certain level which goes beyond the petty cash. And the committee assesses this activity, verifies. And if the committee approves and it's minuted, and also part of the committee is represented by the stakeholder, who's the donor, if they approve and it's minuted, then this minutes confirming that this is approved, it's forwarded to the finance officer for the finance officer to release these funds under a certain budget line that exists. And then it's documented and filed. So when the finance officer releases them, they open a file. Within the file, they have the minutes of the approval. He has the document showcasing he has released the file, and also he has the requisition form. But it doesn't stop there. There has to be receipts. There has to be reports of that activity, that it has been completed for that file to be closed. So that during audit report, you get to showcase the structure. How was this fund released to facilitate this activity? What was this donor looking for? Was the structure. And that's what we are talking about. That sometimes these are the things we lack in our projects. You are presented an opportunity to present your project proposal, but then they ask you this question, and because you don't have this structure, you fail on winning that grant. And why is this structure necessary? To build that trust and accountability, that you can't just wake up today and withdraw funds without nobody being aware. Because if that can be done, then those funds can be easily squandered and misused. Now, let's look at meal. Unless I want to believe I've responded to the question, and also I've actually added to what Stephen was said. So when we talk of meal specifically, I'm looking at meal more of a funding tool than a reporting tool. Why am I saying that? It's like going to a bank. And if you go to a bank to ask for a loan, if anyone here has ever tried to go to a bank to ask for a loan, chances are you are asked maybe 1, 2, or 3 of these questions. Last time I checked, they were asking something like, what's your income? They wanted to know the cash flow in your account. What's your income? So if you say I earn 1,760 US dollars per month, or 2,340 US dollars per month, there's a place where they're going to cluster you in a certain category of loans that you can get. And then the second thing that they could ask, what is your track record in terms of loans? When you take loans, do you pay on time or are you blacklisted? And also, they'll say, can we get your contract in your workplace to know, is this a long-term job? Is it a 1-year contract? So that you don't get a loan and you say you'll pay it in 5 years, and yet you're only presenting an income for a 1-year contract job. These are the things we are talking about. Why am I talking about that? It's that financial statement you're going to provide. That is your meal to the donor. The same way, this statement you're going to provide to the bank, that is your meal to the bank so that they qualify you for the fund. And when we talk of this meal, the key components that they look at is the data. The data that proves this is a problem. The data that proves that you have a working prototype. And also they look at how you've defined your indicators. Do you have indicators so that you can track progress? You can track your activities. You can track your implementation. And also they look at the results. The system, the structure. How are you going, for example, to showcase the successes of this project? How would you measure them? How would you know you've attained them? And what are your long-term value? Here is where they'll assess your sustainability, which is the impact. And the recent modern funding models and also grantors, they are more focused on the sustainability than the project itself. Because without sustainability, then you are not addressing any problem. What you're doing is you're building dependency. With that one said, do we have any question, any concern before I adjourn with this last presentation? Yes, Rabson.
Yeah, thank you for seeing my hand, and also thank you so much for the elaborate and very powerful presentation. I've been following from start up to now, but I've really enjoyed all the discussion. It's very impactful, and there is a lot of substance in what you are presenting. I only have 2 questions for now. because I know you have, it's true, have more to present. So we need to give you time. Number one, you've talked of the structure. The structure has an aspect that would really help your projects to be funded. I don't know if I missed it, but I would like if you could shed more light on that. What kind of structure would look better and that could support your proposal to be funded? That's one. Number two, you've spoken of positioning. Yes, as much as we understand positioning, but would you like to say something that would really indicate a kind of positioning that really looks better?
Thank you. I think let me
for funding.
start.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before I respond to you, thank you so much for that. Let me also hear from Claudine, and then I respond to all of them. Yes, Claudine.
Thank you. Mine is very simple. Since you're just giving us the foundation, I wanted you to help me understand the difference between intermediate results and immediate results. Thank
Thank you, Claudine. Now, here, that is English. That's grammar. Now, when we talk of the immediate result of an activity, now, you see, let me think of a project. Let me think of that same project I had. It had a series of results at the output level. One was procurement, and the other one was construction. But the main activity was to construct. But within that activity, we had series of activities. And I said there are levels of activities or levels of result within an activity. So the construction was the immediate result of the activity, which was constructing. But there were underlying activities. There were underlying activities that were supposed to be done to give out a result. Now, intermediate result could be that result. I don't know how to put it. Sometimes English is very confusing. How can I put this?
you.
Intermediate result, I could look at it as now that level. Let me just call it that first level, that beginner level of the series of activities you are to carry within the main activity. So that your immediate result is the number of shades constructed. But you had a series of intermediate results prior. Like, for example, procurement. Like, for example, let's just say procurement, or even now, even procurement of the land, or even the partnership looking for the people to give you the land. These were different activities you are doing for you now to be able to construct, because the result you're going to report is the number of sheds constructed. I don't know whether I've responded to you.
Yes, thank you. I've got it.
Okay.
Can I try
thank
to?
Yes, kindly go ahead. Go ahead, John.
I was trying to see that for instance, this project has to take 3 good years for constructing about 30 houses, 10 houses per year. The first year, the first 10 houses will be the immediate result. Second year, they will have 20 houses. That will be an intermediate result, for instance. Then the third year, when we complete, we call it the final result. So you have immediate result, intermediate result, then final results. That's how I was trying to look at it.
Okay, thank you, John. Now, before I think I respond on that, because I've said also this is grammar. Allow me also triangulate on that, and then I'll respond on it in a much more comprehensive manner. But I see Hamadi also, you've raised your hand. Hamadi, so
Yes,
is it a question?
yes, thank you very much, Professor. I am Mr. So Amadis.
Yes, kindly go ahead. Is it me or have we lost Hamadi?
You've lost him.
I want to say, understand that when you are talking about sustainability, you said the indicators of the project may show the success of the project. That can be called sustainability. That can indicate the sustainability of the project. Okay. Are you with me?
Okay. Okay. Yes, I'm getting you now. Okay.
Yes. The
Okay.
indicators can define the sustainability of the project. I think if I am right, that's what we are saying.
Thank you, Hamadi. I think you got it somehow. I said the indicator is the instrument of measurement. The sustainability is sustained through the structure, the system. And then the indicator is what you're going to use to measure whether you're being effective, whether you're meeting your target, and all that. Now, look at there's a question we've been asked on. I've talked about a winning structure or a structure. What exactly does a structure entail? As I've said, we are still on the preliminary stage of resource mobilization, but let me just mention them very quickly because we have them here. You see, I'm looking at a proposal as a recipe for cooking something good. And you get to look at it that for this recipe to be effective, you must have the ingredients. The ingredients basically is the data, the problem. You must have the problem because you need this problem for you to carry out your project. And you must have the data to verify that this problem is true. But it goes beyond the problem to having a solution. And this is the method of addressing that problem, which is now the cooking, which is the activity. And then once you finish cooking, of course, you'll have the food, which will be the result. The same way I'm looking at it in terms of the structure. That is, for you to have a winning proposal, it must fit within this formula of you first having a problem, which is evidence based. And then now you have a solution. And this solution must be clear and relevant. It's important I stress on that. You don't just have a solution, but a relevant solution which is clearly stated out. But then it goes beyond that. Once you have a solution, then how you have to identify the activities. And these activities must be presented in a logical step because these activities must be relevant. That's one. These activities must be logical. They must be achievable. They must be realistic.
Realistic.
You see, you don't go to a community where there's an issue to do with unemployment and you say we want to hire all the unemployed youths. How? Are you going to open an industry, a company, to hire them? It's not realistic. But if you say you want to train them, and not all of them, maybe you want to train first 200, give them a market competitive skill and link them to different job opportunities. Those are activities that are logical. And within the steps is first we identify, then we enroll. Once we enroll, we offer them the training. Once they graduate, we link them to opportunities. You see, this is a series of activities, logically sequenced. We identify these vulnerable youths. We help them start a business. First, we train them on entrepreneurship. We empower them, and then we help them start a business. We give them maybe startup capital. We mentor them for a year. If they sustain the business, we graduate them. Those are series of activities. And eventually, for impact, later we'll come and assess of these businesses, how many have grown to an extent that they're hiring other vulnerable youths who are unemployed within that community. You have to showcase these activities. But now there's somewhere where we often lose it. And this is at the budget, where oftenly we don't justify our budget. We come up with unrealistic budget. A budget also plays a role. You can write everything well and then they look at your budget and then they omit you. They look at the budget, they say you want to procure a tissue paper for $30. And they ask you, what type of tissue is this? I'm using that one as an example because I saw it somewhere. When a politician was being assessed, and they said they bought tissues for $30. And then people were asking, what type of tissues are these? Now imagine they were submitting a requisition form. And in this requisition, they are saying we want to buy one tissue for $30. And it's a donor who's supposed to fund that activity. How many of us could actually ascertain that the donor will release those funds? So when we talk of budget, we talk of realistic and justified budget. That a budget, if the donor wants to verify it and do their own triangulation, they can actually do their research and justify that truly in that country, this activity can actually be done by averagely this amount of money. And as I've said, you must choose the right tools to measure your results, which is the indicator. And we'll get to look at this even in an in-depth manner when we'll get to look at these technical tools, like a logical framework in a proposal. What is an indicator? How can you write an indicator? How can you identify the right indicator so that you formulate a good key performance indicator? I want to believe that has responded to the first question. And now, because we've surpassed the time by several minutes, I'll just say this in matters positioning. You know?
Thank you. Yeah, I understand. I got you now.
It's okay. I'll say this in matters positioning and I'll delve into it deeper. There are several methods and all means you can position yourself. Here, we'll explore it in the resource mobilization strategic plan, like newsletters, attending resource mobilization networking seminars, social media and online presence, networking and referrals. All this will get to look at them in an in-depth manner and you'll get to see how they position you towards actually winning a partner before you even submit a proposal. And we'll see how sometimes if you position yourself well, to an extent, sometimes donors reach out to you to request you to submit a proposal for an activity. So we'll look at that in an in-depth manner as we continue with this course. But the one thing that I'll say is these are things I've already said. The one thing that I'll say is if you're not getting funding, it's not bad luck. I think yeah, it's a gap in your strategy. And somehow you always need to find and understand that for you to get a funding, you must find the ground to harmonize the strategy with evidence. Strategy with evidence to formulate a convincing and grant winning proposal. I think that's what I can say as we now prepare now to delve into now the practical development of these tools as we'll be looking forward to generating a proposal. With that one said, do we have any question, maybe any comment, any concern? Then I'll just say, for you to get this funding, work on being clear. Yes, 74, 88, 91. I see here that we have a certain number, 74, 88, 91. Well, then that means we are okay. We can go ahead and adjourn there, and then we'll pick it from next time. Thank you so much for your time and your participation. Until next time, let's all have a blessed evening.
Thank you very
Thank
much. Have a blessed evening.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so
Thank
much.
you.